and welcome to Warframe Wiki Wednesday. I know it's Thursday, amongst the update and all these other things, it wasn't overlooked, but I really wanted to do a different Warframe Wiki Wednesday yesterday, and then at that point I lost track of time. At the end of the day, there's really no excuse, so I'd rather do it late than never. And one mod that has been talked about quite a bit was condition overload over the last couple, I don't want to say days, but it's been coming up a lot lately. So I just wanted to make sure I covered this particular mod and the details about it, as there are some confusing points to it. Long story short, it is a very powerful mod, and I think a lot of people should know about it. Some of the finer details also should help in trade chat if you're looking to buy or sell one. So let's jump right into it. So Condition Overload is a melee mod that grants extra damage based on the amount of different types of status effect currently affecting the target, right? So at starter rank, it's a 20% additional damage, costs 10 capacity. At max rank, it's 120 additional melee damage, takes 15 capacity. Now, the bonus damage gained by this mod stacks additively with other damage mods like Pressure Point and Spoiled Strike to increase your melee damage, including procs, like Slash. Total damage is calculated as such. And then there's an equation, right? Long story short, what I would recommend is basically just take whatever your base damage is, and then count the number of procs you have, and then multiply your damage by the number of procs that you have, basically. And that gives you the condition overload, and then everything else just adds on top of it. So anyway, at 2 status effects applied to a target, this mod provides more base damage bonus compared to Prime Pressure Point and Pressure Point. So this is why you see a lot of people taking off Prime Pressure Point in lieu of having condition overload, because you only need 2 procs to hit 240, whereas Prime Pressure Point is much lower. So for builds that are constrained for mod space, it may be beneficial to replace Pressure Point with Condition Overload, especially for status-oriented melees. That is correct. The bonus damage of a new status effect is not applied to the hit, which inflicted it, or is proc damage. Only subsequent strikes are amplified. Okay, that actually makes sense. That I'm glad that they said that finally, because I was under the impression that when you hit, the status is applied and then the damage is calculated after the fact. But what it is the damage is calculated and then the status is applied, and then the subsequent hit is going to consider the new proc. So gun blades pellets hit consecutively and therefore can be amplified by other pellets of the same shot. So for example, if you have something like the Redeemer, and you got to keep in mind this is all frame based, but I know it's all frame based and they all technically hit on the same frame, but they do hit consecutively, one after another. They calculate consecutively. So one pellet hits, that one generates a proc. The next pellet hits, that one generates a proc. So if you shoot 15 pellets or however many pellets there are in one shot, then all the 15 pellets are gonna, account for its own status proc. So in one shot, you can technically get a full condition overload. Status procs may originate from any source, including primary and secondary weapons, Warframe abilities, companions, other players, or the environment. So it goes through all the elements, including void procs. That's what I thought. Including void procs. They all count for this mod. The lifted status from melee heavy attacks also counts. The Nucor and Kuba Nucor apply a unique invisible status called Microwave to enemies touched by this beam. Microwave procs have an infinite duration. Interesting enough. Although knockdown doesn't cause any icon on the enemy, it still counts as a status. Now, not all the conditions or abilities that prevent knockdowns, like Bastille, will prevent it from increased damage. So if you knock something down and then lift it up with Bastille, I'm assuming it'll still count for damage. Now, since lifted and knockdowns will cancel each other out, the maximum number of status effects that can be applied to an enemy is 16. Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. So status effects from electricity and gas apply radio damage around the primary target, making them especially good for dealing with crowds. The radio damage will benefit from the damage bonus on primary target, but will not count towards bonus damage on subsequent hits on secondary targets. Okay, so the primary target gets hit but the secondary hit, but the second enemy hit. Let's say you electrify one person, and then there's a person next to him, and they get electrified. The radio damage will benefit from the damage bonus. Okay, so it benefits from the damage bonus, but it doesn't apply the proc to the next one. All right, cool. They got some tips. I'm gonna leave the tips to you guys. There's some, you guys just kind of use your imagination. And then it says they have some damage multipliers, but they're not really plugged in here. There's usually a chart right there, which is fine. Trivia. Okay, so prior to update 26, this mod provided a now this, they're talking about when it was super busted. Multiplicative damage bonus, independent of base damage mods, add a lower 60% damage per status effect. The total damage calculated with condition overload was as follows, blah, 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 and then they have a patch history. But yeah, so that is condition overload for the most part. I'm glad they updated the wiki on that, as to include void damage and the microwave damage, because that has been kind of tossed in the air. If you want to see what a standard melee build looks like, this is not every single build, but this is just your standard run-of-the-mill melee, pretty much every melee in the game. This is this the right one? Viral heat? Yeah. So this is pretty much it. You're gonna have all these, and then you're gonna have these mods, and that's pretty much it. And then with the exception of switching this out for electricity, depending on if it's slash based or not, and that is pretty much it. That's pretty much condition overload. As they said in the wiki, don't forget that your Warframe and other weapons can actually proc or assist in increasing the damage of condition overload. These are frames such as Frost, these are frames such as Ember, particularly Warframes or status procs that don't mix. Like if you do like Volt's augmented first, that one mixes, so that might not necessarily be the best because you're just trading one elemental for another. But if there's already one combined, it can provide, potentially like just an additional one. So keep those things in mind when you're modding. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is CS with DWP. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next piece of content. Happy farming for that helmet system and those new weapons and everything. And y'all take it easy. Once again, I apologize for being late. I'll do my best to stay on track going forward. All right, guys. All right, you guys take it easy. Love you guys. Peace. Woo!